Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to check out today's video. I've had a couple of requests to do a video on how I store things in my boat. If you guys don't already know, I have a Ranger Sport R70. It's a 97. It's getting to be pretty old. It's over 20 years old now. But, you know, I make do with what I can until I can afford a new one, which, as much as they cost, it's going to be a little while. So I don't know if these people have the same boat that I do, or are just generally curious as to how I have everything laid out in my boat. But I figured I'd answer them and show you how I do things. Alright, so we're going to start off with the back of the boat and work our way forward. In the back, I like to keep things that I don't use all that often. So we're just going to spin you around here. Over here I got a prop wrench, my oil mixing container. Normally I have a gallon oil jug in here as well, but I'm out right now. I have a small tool kit, boat bumpers, spare prop, weigh bag, because you usually don't use that during the day. You might pull it out once at the end. My ropes. Those I just bought a little dish pan, and it sits right on top of my trolling motor batteries. So that's kind of a handy little thing. Keeps them in there, keeps them nice and dry, out of the way. And then when you need them, they're right on top. They don't fall down underneath anything. So moving up into the storage right behind the driver's seat, it's kind of a miscellaneous box for me. Things I like to keep in there, my vest. You know, any hats and gloves. The last tournament that we fished in, it was about 36 degrees at takeoff, so I still have plenty of that. My scale, because it's right next to the live well. Any rain gear, foul weather gear, anything like that. Boat cushion, the throwable one. And then any first aid stuff, as well as some sunscreen, maybe some miscellaneous snacks. One thing I recommend, keeping your license and or boat insurance in a Ziploc bag and keeping it in there, keep it nice and dry. Then you always have it if you ever do need it, which hopefully you don't, but it's one of those things you want to know where it's at. Next compartment isn't really a compartment at all, but it's the live well. I know a lot of people like to store some of their culling clips, anything like that, next to, in the storage next to it. You can do that. But what I like to do with mine is I have the divider in the middle. I just hang them right over top of the divider, and that way they're right there when you need them. You can put them right back when they're not needed anymore. That way you always know where they're at. They're always handy when you're putting a fish in, just to grab them real quick and you're good to go. Now moving over to the storage behind the passenger seat, this is where I keep all my hard baits. You know, I have 3700 size boxes for all of those. In my deep crankbait box, I got the deeper Plano storage. I think it's 3703. So that's almost twice the size. I think I got 11 boxes in there right now. That's pretty full. But you know, that holds plenty of baits for me. And I can rotate these out based on the time of year or what lake I'm fishing as far as tournaments go or guiding, whatever. It lets me hold plenty of hard baits in there. Alright, so moving on from the back deck. Again, this isn't really a storage area, but this is how I leave things set up in my boat. By the passenger seat, I have my balance beam for, you know, quick calls, stuff like that. It sits in there nice out of the way, but it's really handy when you need it. The other thing I do is I put my bump board back behind my seat here. Again, handy to pull out when you need to put a fish on there, putting it right in the live well. Again, nice and handy, nice and close. Coming over to the side of the seat, I use some tools that I use all the time, fish grippers. You know, if you're using treble hooks, I really recommend getting one of these. It'll save you from getting one in your hand. Sunscreen, because you need that all the time. And a marker buoy, the good old-fashioned marker buoys. I know with GPS, it's kind of made them somewhat obsolete, but I still use them quite a bit. And it's right handy, right next to the console. So when you know, if I need to mark something quick while I'm idling around, I can just toss it back there real quick. All right, so moving up, my boat has 2 rod lockers in it. The one on the driver's side is only about 6'6", so I'd only have a few rods that would fit in there anyway. So I just use one side for a rod locker. The other side I opted to use for tackle storage. You look at this nice big storage locker. Things they keep in here, a lot of plastics, even though I know it kind of weights the boat down a little bit in the front, which, you know, honestly I can't really do much about just because that's the way the boat's laid out. Couple things I keep in here: terminal tackle, my hooks and weights. That way I can rig some stuff up, you know, sitting here I can just have easy access to it, tie it up quick, and I'm ready to go. I opted for the 3600 size boxes in here. Those mostly, like if you've seen my videos before, my plastics are arranged. The stuff that I use the most are in these containers, and then I have bags that I keep the rest in. like this is a finesse flipping bag. Usually I label the bag as well. If I know I'm not going to be needing any of that stuff, it gets pulled out of the boat. But I just came back from a tournament not too long ago. I didn't know what was going on down there. I didn't have time to pre-fish. I just kind of had to take everything with. You know, got my kick and bass up here too. You got to have that. And then the other thing I did, I got a big Sterilite container that fits in here. And basically that just holds all my loose items that, you know, stuff like the tools, you know, hook removers, pliers, stuff that would end up getting lost in here. That gets stuck in that tub, and that way I always know where it's at. The other thing is I don't put the lid on, I just keep it flipped over. And the reason I do that is it kind of gives me a little bit of a tray. If I have wet baits or anything like that, I can set them on there to dry. They're off the deck, out of the way, nobody's going to step on them or anything like that. And then I can just put them away when I'm done. But everything in this locker is stuff I need quick access to. Like I said, my soft plastics, my hooks, stuff like that, that I'm going to be needing access to throughout the day. Coming over to the other side of the boat, like I mentioned, we got the rod locker. I keep that pretty packed. That's pretty self-explanatory. On this particular boat, I can fit up to a 7.2 rod in there. It'd be nice if it was a little bit longer, but you know, you're kind of held to what they give you. So all my St. Croix are in there, tucked away. Use the rod gloves, the reel glove covers, and that way it protects against damage. And you know, I can pull any rod out in here without getting it tangled up, which is a really nice feature. Looking at the front deck of my boat, you know, from the factory, these boats didn't come with this deck extension. You had to order that separate. They made a half and a full. I have a half, and actually for this boat, that is what I would recommend. The reason being, if anybody comes fishing with you, you have a place to put their gear, because this is empty right up underneath here, so a tackle box slides in there. You know, if I'm fishing by myself, most of the time my camera stuff is up underneath there as well. The other thing is, with some paper clips and a Ziploc bag, I made myself a little garbage, because you always got line, you know, empty bait packages, anything like that. It all stays in there, it doesn't blow out, and it's simple, easy, convenient, so that's a really nice thing to do. The last compartment on my boat here, this was from the factory. It was another live well. Now if you notice in my back, there's a divider in there. There's really no reason to have a second one. So what I did, now just kind of look past all the garbage in there. It didn't get emptied out after the last tournament. I plugged this off with the overflow, also plugged off the very bottom, and I use it as a cooler. It's a really nice feature to have in a boat this small, just to have a nice cooler. It is insulated, so it keeps ice pretty well, keeps your stuff cold. Alright guys, there you have it. I've had this boat for probably 3 or 4 years now, so this is the best I've come up with. You know, maybe you guys have some suggestions. You know, you might have the same boat, something that works for you really well. Leave those down below in a comment. Make sure you hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay current on all my recent uploads. Thanks for stopping by today, guys, and until next time, God bless and good luck on the water.